Commission. Let's see, call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Let's begin with a roll call of members. I will start and let's go counterclockwise. Matt Lepore, Chairman.
Don McKibben, Vice Chair.
Kevin Lynch, Selectman's Rep.
Diane Plansky, alternate.
Jason Brennan, alternate.
Okay, Marion.
Marion Gadzik, alternate.
Roger St. Laurent, member.
Right,
Aaron Ziggy, member.
okay, so we have 5 regular members present. I will be appointing 2 alternates, Diane and Jason. Appointing you 2 as alternates, and that brings us up to 7. All right, is there any public input related to non-agenda items? Hearing none, let's get down to business. First on the agenda, Renee Thoreau gas station driveway proposal. I see that we have Jim Petropoulos with us joining on WebEx. I believe we have a gentleman out in the hallway.
Attorney Morgan.
Mr. Morgan, please come in. Would you like to sit right there? Right there. We have a shortage of seats this evening. You can put that name tag to the side. That's one of our alternates who's not with us this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, my name is Morgan Hollis. I'm an attorney, Gottesman and Hollis in Nashua, and I'm here representing Thoreau Development, who is the longtime applicant now of something to do on this piece of property up off of Charles Bancroft Highway, 522 Charles Bancroft. And as you all recall, through prior Zoom meetings, we've had a number of applications in for your consideration. And the last one that we came before you at, we had 3 possible options. One option was we would like to possibly do a land swap with you. That is, we would get some of your frontage and you would get some of our back piece. That was what was listed and shown on a plan as option 1. Option 2 was we would try to get an easement from the Conservation Commission to, at your point of access, to allow us to have access. And option 3 was we would give you an easement over our parcel of property to get on yours, and you would essentially grant us the access point which you have now at your parking area. This all arose because the DOT, Department of Transportation, has a specific policy which deals with when land is subdivided, and our property was subdivided from our neighbor to the south since 1979, and as a result, it's limited to 1 curb cut. There are 2 curb cuts on the land south of us. This lot is now limited to 1 curb cut. And our proposed use of the property as a gas station convenience store really kind of dictates 2 access points. So again, to reiterate, we came with 3 possibilities. I know you all had a site walk to review the site and take a look at it. And I was not on the site walk, but I know Mr. Thoreau was there with you. You had some questions. Since that time, we have gone back to DOT and asked DOT how they felt about what appeared to be the best possible arrangement, which would be we would essentially give you an easement over our land and you could close your driveway up. They did not like that. They did not indicate that they were willing to allow the Conservation Commission to assign its driveway rights to this parcel, because that would instead give this parcel 2 driveways, which is not allowed under the regulations. So it kind of takes us out of the land swap scenario as well, because if we did a land swap, we would still be doing this on our property, not on your property. So it leaves us with one choice, which we're asking you to consider, and that is whether you would consider granting an easement over your current driveway to allow us to have that as an access point to our property as well. And we had a plan which we showed, and I have plans here which I can pass out. But it essentially would take your driveway, widen the driveway, and allow our traffic to come in and enter and exit at that point on the northern end of our property. We would pave it, and we would certainly make improvements to your property as you request your parking area would get moved slightly back from the road to an area which is not as visible from the road and not as near the entry point. There would be a driveway extending from the property back from the roadway back into the property and then curving onto our property eventually. And naturally, we'd work with you as to how you wanted to design it, lay it out, improve it. Now, that requires two things. Number one, it requires an easement from you as the owner of the property, and by you, I mean the town. So you would have to make a recommendation that you're in favor of pursuing this, or you have no objection. I think in favor would at least be a more positive vote. You are neutral and you have no objection, I guess we'll take that. And then the second thing that's going to be required ultimately is this property is under a conservation restriction. All of your property has a conservation restriction. It's in favor of the town and it's in favor of the New Hampshire Fish and Game. And the restriction is that you cannot use any of the property for a commercial use and you cannot pave any of the property, which is why you have gravel. So not only would you have to agree that we can use it for an access point, but you would have to agree that you have no objection to waiving or releasing that restriction. Legally, I'm not sure that it's in your jurisdiction to do it. It's more likely the town who has to do this, as well as Fish and Game. But I think it starts here. If the Conservation Commission, which is the steward of that property, feels opposed to this, we would like to hear it now so we don't spin our wheels and go a long way. If, on the other hand, you have no objection to us pursuing it and you wouldn't be opposed to it, we would continue on and make our next stop at Fish and Game and see how they feel about lifting the restrictions. We have not gone there yet. If their answer is absolutely no, then that would be the end of that process. So I think our request this evening is for you to consider and debate and give us your answer as to how you feel about granting an easement over your existing driveway and allowing us to pave that easement area. The easement would allow for two car lanes wide coming in and one going out. And then we would locate a driveway and create a parking area on your piece for you a little farther west, that is inland from Charles Bancroft Highway to whatever specifications you want. So that's where we are, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Happy to answer any questions. Mr. Thoreau's here. We also have on screen Mr. Petropoulos of Hayner Swanson, who prepared the plans. As I say, I know you've seen the plans and you've walked the parcel, so if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Mr. Petropoulos can answer them, and also Mr. Thoreau is here.
Right after Harry, I saw his hand up first.
Yeah. Now, that plan that you're talking about, is that one of the ones with the walkthrough where you would push the driveway through the fence?
Yes. Yes. I wasn't on the walkthrough, so I'm just confirming.
Staked out, the gym staked out.
Yeah.
That would be what
That
we
would put in your,
would go
through
through
your,
your
through the
driveway.
fence. And-
What plan number was that?
It'll be this,
Okay, the other question that I have is, what about winter? What about plowing? And what about now? Does that cut, Jason? You probably know more than I would. What about mowing that area? Does that stop?
Well, I think I have the plan up there right now, Harry. I think that's the one. This is option two. Option two.
It's not option 3, it's option 2.
It's option two.
So if you take a look at it,
We talked about.
Harry, you can see a very faint black line up on the screen there where they would propose the gravel parking.
This is your current driveway.
Yeah.
We would propose this area, and then the gravel parking, your current gravel is here.
Oh, so okay.
We would propose new gravel parking and a new driveway. That's just our current layout. You would put it wherever you want. If you wanted the driveway to go over here more, wherever you want.
No, I was in the impression that the driveway would stay where your finger is.
Here, yeah, you can see it's wider. It would come down about this far. Driveway will come in this way and the drive. This area might be somewhat landscaped. Currently, it's just gravel, all gravel and gravel. We would do whatever you wanted us to do in there. Whatever the planning board.
So we would still lose some property.
You would lose, currently you own this area here, which is not used at all. And this is the driveway that you have. So this area would be lost in terms of usage. You would still own this. It would be an easement right in this area to get over. You would have your driveway, bigger driveway in and out. You would have your parking instead of here. The reason you're located here is this is too close to the entry point. People want to get in. Cars coming and going. So you need a little distance, queuing or the lining of cars. But in terms of loss of active property, you can see this is your trail, goes this way. And this is your parking. You gain that back, that is, it would be revegetated in some fashion, maybe so that there's better landscaping from the road.
And we could still maintain it as far as mowing goes.
You can maintain it however you want. This would be the only area that would be impacted, and that would be the asphalt. It's just not practical for a gas station to have.
Chair.
Yes.
A question
I'm
for Morgan.
I'm sorry. One more. Diane,
Sorry.
Joan did have her hand up first.
Can Morgan or Jim tell me how wide the driveway would be at that curve point?
Jim could better answer, I think.
Yeah, so this is Jim Petropoulos. I hope you can hear me. Good evening.
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Joan, typically, we're for a particular use like this, we've got, slightly wider radiuses than we would have for your current driveway, for example. My guess, and I'd have to double check the site plan regs in Litchfield, but my guess it would probably be somewhere in the 30-foot range as being, maybe a 16-foot inbound lane and a 14-foot outbound lane.
So there'd be 30, you're thinking 30 feet of pavement at the curb cut?
Yeah, at the throat, the curb cut basically has some radius, so it's a little wider as you enter into the property, but the throat of it, the two lanes in about 30 feet, and then of course it veers to the south into the site. I think it's important to note that as Attorney Hollis had mentioned, we're seeking some direction this evening. There would certainly be much more detail about, the reconstruction of the gravel parking, signage, landscaping, snow maintenance issues, things like that. I suspect we'll be back before the commission if we're lucky to move forward with this at some point in the future with greater detail of this area.
Right. I have no problem with moving our parking lot. I do have several other issues. So DOT were they adamant about not going with version 3?
We consulted with our traffic engineer, GPI, and asked her to contact DOT about option 3, and the answer was no. So I would not, I wasn't there, so I can't classify it as adamant, but Heather's answer was a succinct no.
And you couldn't prove a hardship because Renee has said that you have, if you had a mountain or a river in your way, it would be a hardship, but they wouldn't go for it.
We have not pursued that avenue yet. As you may be aware, or I think we may have stated, you're limited to a certain number of driveways unless there is relief from the regulation by DOT. And DOT requires you to prove a number of things, including which is a hardship. Now, it's very rare that they've granted them. And it's possible that if we're denied in every other aspect, and there are multiple layers here, as you've just pointed out. If you said yes, but Fish and Game said no. If you said yes, Fish and Game said yes, but the town said no, that is the selectmen. If everybody said yes and the planning board said no, we have lots of hoops to go through. If we couldn't satisfy you on what we're doing for reconstruction of that driveway or parking lot, that would stop this. So we have a lot of hoops. If we go through all of them and we end up with a yes, then that will be fantastic. If we get a no, we have one last Hail Mary, which is you go back to DOT and argue that we've tried everything there is possible and we would like a hardship. I'm not counting on that, as I've told my client. The tea leaves don't seem to be reading that way. So this seems to be the best option for us to at least get an answer from you on at this very early stage. I mean, as Jim said, we have a number of stops to make along the way, and we will be back here long before we go to the planning board.
But visually, everybody should realize that from 3A to the back of that yellow section, those trees are gone.
It's fine.
We now have a tree line there. So I'm just pointing that out. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Regarding to Joe's concern with the tree line, there's basically brush there, except for one pine tree. Okay? I prefer option 3, I'll be honest with you, because it makes more sense. Okay, I think you and the design people, I've been through this before. The reason for it, we're giving up our access point to allow it to be an easement onto this to go to a little parking lot that's used intimately, I'll say that. Okay? I think it makes more sense to go with the option 3 and gives them something. We don't need the curb cut per se, we have an access to get to where we have to go. So I think option 2 is not a bad idea, but it's giving up, making it a little different, I think. It allows just parking for them, option 3. It just allows the Renee's group to have more parking along the front, and less along the side of the property line. That's all it does, okay? So, hold on, excuse me, option, option 2, and that's why I like, option 2 does the same thing, more parking. And you build out a little parking lot in the back there. We're all doing the same thing. This is the DOT being, I'm gonna say, odd. Okay, and normally don't get too carried away over the years that I've seen them. Okay? They're trying to gain, because this piece of land was owned by the same person at one time. They went to a golf course, all things fell apart, and this is what happened. I think 2 or 3 is good for me, one way or the other, but I like 2 better. They're not dealing with property, we're just getting access easement and put a parking lot. If we had to go in there for emergency reasons, we're gonna use that cut that's there now, but it's not gonna be a common cut. Where people will go in all the time, just to go in and do maintenance, like do everything else they like. I think either 3 I like better than 2. Okay, I'll be honest with you, because all I've done is put more parking in the front instead of putting along the side. Visually for the town.
Yeah, no, I understand all those points, and we, of course, were pushing hard for option 3 because that just made more sense to us as well, but
Makes more sense
I
in the function of the whole place.
I
The
think
DOT
that
is being the DOT, and they've changed.
they control the rules, so.
Yeah, they do, but do they have a waiver procedure?
As I said, they have a process you can apply for, but
Fish and Game in
I-
Litchfield agrees to option 3. They agree with that.
my research indicates they have rarely, in fact, I
understand.
have yet to find one that they've granted.
Okay.
I've been
That's
told
my
it's
opinion.
rare.
Okay. I saw Diane's hand first, then Mary, and then Jason.
What is the maximum curb cut that you can do?
24.
Jim, I don't know the answer to that. Do you know, is it 40 feet?
The maximum width, yeah, I don't have the Litchfield regs with me, sorry, Morgan. It's in that range. It's in that range.
Do not apply to this because it's a state road.
Yes.
I would say that a maximum curb cut is the 50 feet right away.
Just like any other road.
Right.
Right, but on a 50-foot right of way, the pavement generally is in that, it's something less.
About 24 to 26.
Correct.
If you
Yeah.
did 50 feet up here for your curb cut, you don't have enough room to get in and out.
Yeah, 50 feet. Well, that area in the yellow along your
Not
property.
on the other side, so-
Oh, on our side? Well, that's where option 3 came in. If you turn the page, you'll see option 3. That's what we tried to do and give you that little access driveway. But the state said you may not have a second curb cut on your property.
What I'm saying is the one curb cut that you are
Oh.
allowed down here, if you
Um,
make that 50 feet, that wouldn't be big enough to go in and out. It would have to.
It would be big enough to go in and out, but it's problematic in a design a layout of trucks, large trucks coming into one entry point and then looping around the building and then coming back out again. That begins to affect the flow of the cars and the trucks and the backup. If you got one or two cars and a truck backing up,
Worst comes to worst, you could do that.
it's possible. It is physically possible to do that.
Okay, just curious.
Yes.
Hey, Marion.
My concern was about traffic. You have 2 lanes coming in and you have 1 coming out. Now, how is that going to affect the traffic on 3A? Because down a little further, you have another entrance and exit way that I assume would not be able to handle the trucks. Is the northern roadway or driveway supposed to be just for the trucks or for everybody? Because I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of people using that gas station.
Yeah. If I may, the northerly drive is a single lane in and a single lane out. In the slightly wider lanes, as I said to Joan a moment ago. And even though it's off our screen, the southerly curb cut is also an in and out. This helps the rotation, the flow of people as they're traveling both north and south on 3A to get in and maneuver. We know that the gas station convenience store sites are active sites. And to facilitate those in and out movements, we believe that 2 curb cuts really help the flow of the site. So those are the reasons why we have access as shown on this site.
Yeah, Jim, I think the question was, is on the northerly driveway proposed to be on the conservation land. It's shown as a single in and a single out, but it is a extraordinarily wide in.
Yeah.
And maybe you can explain that design.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a conceptual plan. We can nail down the details. We've got town of Litchfield regulations to comply with. We've got state DOT, radii and lane widths to comply with. So whatever we end up with will be, a compliant design. I'm not sure, Morgan, why it appears there's an extra wide entry lane there, to be honest with you. It's typically the other way around to allow a slip right or left turn movement as you're leaving the site, but.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's odd on the northbound side. You normally
Yeah.
don't have that wide of an entrance going to the site compared to the
Correct.
exit going out. It could be a line that's misinformed, because you may get a right-hand turn or a left-hand turn coming out.
Correct.
Okay, that's what you're referring to, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree
Yeah,
with that, sure.
And you have that on your south side as you look at that driveway. There is
Correct.
room to put another lane going out, turning south. Compared,
Correct.
and there's a place to put another lane going north, just one lane going north. And you got
Yes,
one
that's
lane
correct.
coming in. So it's just where the line was put on the drawing, that's all it is.
And it is just conceptual, as
Yeah,
we say. I'm not sure where we'll end up on this, what it'll look like, but we'll certainly be back to you if we get permission to even pursue it further.
Jason, you had your hand up.
Yep. I had a few questions. A couple have been answered. Number one, can you do this with one exit like Diane said? But my follow-on question to that, could you petition the state for a wider exit? Does that fall into the same category?
Wider than the 50 feet?
I don't think Renee said if he had 100 feet, he could do it.
I don't think we can get a, I don't think we can get a unlimited width, right,
Right.
access point.
That's correct. And also, Morgan, if I could add to that, to rely on the way this site is set up, with the promotion of servicing commercial vehicles behind the facility, to have one driveway at the southerly entrance would mean that commercial vehicles would really have to drive through the front of the facility, the front paved area, fueling areas and drive aisles. And we would be mixing commercial traffic with automobile traffic, and that's where the two driveways give us greater independence of that.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then I did.
But just throwing it out there. The
Yeah.
other question I had, and I think Renee answered this last time. This will have no effect on the horse farm property to the north because we're not taking away one of our driveways, correct? So we're not just kicking a problem north.
Nope,
That's correct.
we're doing that.
Can you guys tell me the original piece of property as of July 1st, 1971? It was a good year. Kevin probably remembered it well. He was probably 30 at the time. Do you know how wide how much frontage you had or was on that lot in 1971?
Renee, how much land what's the frontage on the lot in question? Do you have that now?
Not quite, we got 490 feet.
You got 490, add that to the rest of it going all the way past the horse farm.
The reason why.
No, going south.
No,
It's south,
Yeah.
Right.
probably gonna get another, 250 feet at the most.
So the reason why I asked that is I looked up the regulations and it says that the DOT will take into consideration, they mentioned the 3 driveways for greater than 500 feet, but they also mentioned if the frontage was over 1,000 feet, they would take that into consideration as well. Meaning that they might have some leniency on it if it's over 1,000 feet. I pulled up the GIS, I did a measurement on it, and it seemed like it was about 872 feet or somewhere in about 900 feet in that range somewhere. But I just don't know if the original piece of property went to the south more towards St. Francis back in the day.
It did.
It went to the garage next door, and then it went to the Brown house. So the Brown house, the Edwards garage, and this piece.
Okay,
That's
so it
what
didn't
you-
go one further south.
That's correct.
correct.
Okay. Last thing, Mr. Chair, I think the options here, I agree with the 2 driveways. I think the options here are the best they can do. I think one thing that we should consider is maybe talk to Troy Brown and get the town together with the DOT and just see if something could happen, because to me, this is a little bit ridiculous, because if we give you an easement on the property, it's the same result as if you were just to do it on your own property. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher from there. So I'm wondering if the town can do something from their side, maybe to make this happen. It might be worth a shot.
I think,
Marion.
go ahead.
Do you use the square footage from the original piece of property back in 71? Or is it now considered the property what the square footage is now for the frontage? Unless I mistook what you said, you researched it and found out it was 800 and some odd square feet.
I assume that it only included Edward's garage and the property to the south.
Yes,
I don't
that's
know if
correct.
it included anything else. If it
No, it did
did,
not.
you might have tripped over 1,000 feet,
No, it
which I
didn't.
think per the regulations of NHDOT, it might kick it into another realm where you could get an extra driveway. I was reading between the lines. It didn't actually say
I
that.
read
but-
the same stuff.
But I meant with, are we going by the frontage we have here now or back in 71?
Back in 71.
71. It's an unusual regulation requirement, but if the property has been subdivided since that time, it reverts back to what they call the original parcel. And the original parcel was granted 3 curb cuts, and there are 2 curb cuts south already. I'm sorry, it was granted only 3 curb cuts, and there are 2 curb cuts south, and we are proposing 2 curb cuts on the northern parcel. And that's where the rub is, getting that second curb cut.
In other words, they don't like subdivisions.
They don't want to, I mean, the regulation basis is they don't want so many curb cuts within a certain distance, 1,000 feet of lineal feet, 1,000 lineal feet along the road. They don't want that many curb cuts. That's the purpose.
Was the horse farm part of that original?
Yeah,
No,
not that piece there, no.
Horse Farm was part of our parcel.
Right.
Joan, I say you raise your hand.
I think that Jason might be onto something at getting Troy, not only Troy involved, but what about our state rep and our senators? That they must have some, I mean, they're limiting what commercial development in Litchfield, basically. And they did it to the south too, on a parcel to the south. So, I mean, that might, I don't know if it would work, but it would.
And if that's the direction, if the Conservation Commission feels strongly that option 3 is still the best option and directs us to go back and try our best with DOT, that's what we'll do. We'll try to coalesce as much strength as we can. As long as the Conservation Commission is behind that effort, we'll follow your direction.
I think I would just alter one thing that you said, not you go to DOT. I think it would be us going
Yeah.
to DOT with you.
In partnership.
That'd be great.
To support you, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
To me, it's like worth a shot, right? I mean, if we
Agree.
can get this done in a very short period of time, I mean, we may as well see,
You can, yes.
because then
Give them some
who
direction.
knows? Maybe they say yes, and it's the best of all worlds.
So I guess if we're going to decide what action we should take, we should get a consensus on which option we'd like, I suppose, and then that could kind of push us in a direction of how we want to proceed.
Well, you got two things, in my opinion.
I'm gonna bring them up
The
again.
fishing game, which is part of this click too. I think we're trying to keep the land that was taken from the owner because of a violation or an agreement on a violation back in the day. We're trying to keep it. We're still trying to give us some commercial growth. I think we're willing to have our driveway be moved onto this piece of land. I'll say, and we'll get a curb cut from that. And they're gonna have the same thing. Matter of fact, it's gonna be better if we stick with option 3. You're not dealing with another
So could,
turn.
so
or
if we
something
go
going
around
in.
and get, so your
I'm not done.
consensus is option
I'm
3?
talking to I think I think we should go with option 3. Okay? And it makes more sense for the traffic pattern out there in the first place. You got more cars coming up and down Route 3 or truck traffic in that area. We haven't even talked about turn lanes, and that's their issue. Okay? But that's another thing that may happen to them. Okay, because you got trucks stopping to make a turn, so they want to get a turn lane to go. That's a patent area. All we're talking about tonight is curb cuts. And I think 3 is the best way to go.
If we went with option, oh, I'm sorry, you want to go ahead?
Also, I think should be taken into consideration is traffic as bad as it is now is going to get worse as time goes on. And that's because we're going to have the gas station, we're going to have the additional housing up north. And we've got the warehouse down south. So, to me, I think traffic's going to be a huge component to this thing.
And they're gonna look into turning lanes to keep patent traffic going. Similar to what we
Right,
got
but-
now coming on to Albuquerque. That makes traffic going south a lot better.
But you're still, you have turning lanes.
Yep.
I don't know how long turning lanes
It
are,
can be 100 feet, something like that.
but once your turning lane gets full of cars, you've got,
It stop the trucks coming from the other way.
how are you gonna do that? Somebody stand out there with a flag?
No, it's not easy.
No, it's not, and
All we're trying to talk here is curb cut.
That's right.
Right.
The traffic pattern is gonna be another pattern. Yep.
So I'd like to make a motion.
Are we just doing a consensus?
I think it would probably be beneficial if we do a formal decision, correct?
Make a motion,
I'd
what?
like to make a motion that we
Stick with three?
go with option
Three.
3 and see what happens. Come up with something else.
And come back.
Wording. Then we would have to read.
Maybe use the word preference.
Thank you.
Could you clarify your motion there? So it's that
That we
would prefer option 3.
we would prefer option 3.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Do you want to have discussion?
What's that?
Second.
After discussion, after a second. So I just received a second from Kevin. Open to discussion. Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think the motion also has to say that Troy and the town and everybody else has to join in on this. We're not the Lone Rangers here.
Okay, so I do have a
We can
motion,
have a friendly amendment. We just did this planning board.
Okay.
Friendly amendment.
right? So would that have to be the individual who made the motion who has to do the amendment?
No. It can be anybody.
So your friendly amendment is to add the Troy and
The
And
Board of Selectmen,
Board of Selectmen and
Fishing Game,
Fish and Game, yes.
well, that are, and the applicant that are going to DOT. Fishing Game really isn't
Right.
going to DOT. It's
Right.
just
no, but
not
they may have
Fishing
some
Game.
influence on Fishing Game.
It's hard to take minutes with other people talking.
Speed it up.
All right,
So Troy, the Board of Selectmen with the applicant to DOT.
I do have one other, bit of discussion. Even after looking at all 3 options, I do have to admit I am a little concerned about the precedent here of, kind of modifying conservation land. I understand that you guys are in a predicament, and I don't mean this with any animosity, but I just have to say I am concerned with I kind of view conservation land as it is supposed to be the way it is in perpetuity.
But what option 3 does, it does what we want it to do. The conservation land is still staying the same. All we got is an access that's different.
Yeah, we're moving our access point
That's all
though.
we done. That does not stop you from getting, if you want to do something back there and you want to need a temporary curb cut, those are issued all the time, okay, on construction sites to do something.
Mhm.
But if you need to get back there to do something, you still get back there
Yeah,
without going into the parking lot as much.
I think he's just talking in theory,
yeah.
and it is scary. Now I get it.
Roger.
I think though, there comes a time where, we've owned this property for a number of times and we've enjoyed it number of years and whatever. But we also have to be a little bendable. I mean, he's a taxpayer. He's gonna bring jobs and business to the town. He's gonna give us tax
base.
money. I mean, with very little impact for what the town has to do with it.
Mhm.
What would you rather see? Apartment buildings down there? I mean, this is crazy. I personally like option 3, but if we can't go with option 3, then go with option 2.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm opposed to still exploring it. I just kind of wanted to put that out there, for everyone's consideration.
But we really won't be losing anything other than a few trees, and we can replant the trees.
thing. And the other opposition I have to 2 is that there's so much pavement up front, where 3, pavement is more to the side. that big expanse of pavement with 3. So,
Jason?
I do agree with Roger that it's something that we should be amenable on. Just due to the fact that there's been a lot of good things going on in that part of town. It's been cleaned up a lot, and that single lot right there could use a little bit of sprucing up. And I think that the amenities that it would bring to the community would be beneficial. I know I run out of gas all the time mowing my lawn, and I gotta truck it up to Manchester. That being said, I do agree with the option 3. But option 2 is not too bad either. The reason why I like option 2 to some extent is because when you drive in, the parking lot is right there. You know, it's kind of like you're driving in off of 3A and then you just bend the corner and the parking lot is right there. You don't have to physically make a right-hand turn and then another right-hand turn. So it's the least awkward. I would say it's the most natural. So I do like option 2, but I agree with option 3 just due to the fact that it leaves some trees for buffers and stuff like that, but.
Okay.
I concur with that.
Marion, and then I think we should probably.
I just have one question. Are the truck traffic and that, are they gonna be allowed to come in and out at either driveway or are they pretty much specific, is the northern driveway specifically aimed at commercial vehicles?
I don't think there'll be a restriction. But I do think, given the orientation as they get comfortable in using this facility, I believe the trucks will mostly use the north curb cut to enter and the south curb cut to exit.
All about flow. Makes sense.
Go ahead,
Next.
Mary.
So the motion.
All right, Mr. Chair, could you repeat the motion? I don't know what the heck it ended up being.
Yeah, that's just for clarification. Joan, did you write down the motion?
Sure.
Oh, and Mr. Chair, we have people in the audience.
Yep. Can I open it to public input? Does anyone have any issue with that? Anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Hearing none.
I'm gonna throw a rock at you.
so the motion was,
Not you.
I know, but I'm close.
Luann might have had
Please,
something.
everyone, please, let's listen to Joan.
okay, so the motion was, Harry made the motion to, he prefers option 3. There was a friendly amendment by Roger to have Troy, the Board of Selectmen, and with the applicant approach DOT regarding option 3.
All right, so all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hands. Aye. 7. Those opposed? Those again, abstaining? All right, motion passes 7-0-0.
Thank you very much for your time again.
Thank you.
Back to you.
You need that back?
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming in. Okay, so the second item on the agenda was a master plan update, because, we had received correspondence from Jay Minkara and he listed out the scope of work for a conservation master plan. I believe, Joan has a couple copies.
Are you at the second?
The second item here, master plan update.
Come I have vacancy for a member.
Sorry, I kind of moved this around?
Okay.
A little bit. It was at the bottom. I used it, I named it differently, but
So
I did move that up to the second one. I thought Jay was going to be this evening.
This one, land preservation plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
I moved that up.
Okay, I have a few.
Let's take a look at this. Sit down. So I guess we can count this as Jay's update. But If anybody has any questions, we can discuss that. Otherwise, we can just look over it.
An extra copy?
That was all the copies.
Sure.
I also sent it via email. So if you have your email.
This thing's not liking me.
Would you like to look at?
Or yours.
Oh, shame.
Well, are we going to, try and vote on this now? Because he said he could start in July.
Would we like to?
We kind of just got that though, right? I mean, it got sent out to us at
May
6:20
27th.
tonight,
It was sent out last week.
but to us, we just got.
Yeah.
Get the one that works.
Marion.
Is this something that could be worked on almost like a subcommittee type thing?
I think that this is supposed to, this is the scope of work that Jay would work off of to create the master plan for us. Jason.
And to follow on what Marion was saying, and the discussion that we had last week about a land preservation plan, like he doesn't specifically mention that in here, which I think is fine, but I think in addition to going through this, which seems like mostly a mapping exercise, updating our mapping, getting our properties and getting our amenities in town mapped out and where they are in coordination with each other. I think in addition to that, we could potentially add on to this and start internally developing maybe a land preservation strategy that follows on to this.
Yep.
And that strategy could have three things to it. And I think it's something that we could facilitate internally. Number one, in regards to acquiring properties, develop a ranking criteria, what's important to us. Is it on 3A? Is it on the river? Is it farmland? Does it protect natural resources? Things like that. Those are ranking criteria. And then weight those criteria. And then take a look at pieces of property, maybe in non-public, and figure out how they apply to that criteria and shake it all together and come up with, a strategy or a list or something like that. That's just lists out the piece of properties and their ranking. And then in addition to that, we may be able to start taking a look at alternative approaches to land preservation. Like we always talk about buying, but you can purchase, some communities purchase easements. Some communities purchase development rights. Some communities purchase easements, development rights. Oh, there's a third one there. Oh, right of first refusal. Things like that could be strategies that we use. And if we develop a land preservation plan, which I think would be 10 pages or less that could follow on this, that would be something that I could help start up.
Okay.
If the commission's interested in it,
All right.
in coordination with this.
Marion.
I have an old copy of the booklet Marjorie Swope put out on the handbook for conservation commissioners. You can look at it online, but it's full of all kinds of information. And chapter 11 in it has a lot to do, and I'll just pass you that so you can see what I printed out. It's acquiring lands, things like that.
Development rights?
Yeah, I mean, it's got a ton of information on it. And you mentioned the right of first refusal. This chapter. So, I just Googled it and was able to get it and printed out what I figured was.
I'll be honest with you, Mr. Chair, I think Jason's got a good idea. I think it should be a subcommittee. Because you all, it's not just the whole group here getting together per se, but to come back and show us what they're talking about and what we'd like to do. I think the mapping is half the battle, okay?
Is this something that we could do in tandem while NRPC is working on the master plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So are we looking for a motion to have him do that? It's $4,500, right?
Yep, and that will be coming from the which one would that be coming from?
Well, we could take it from anywhere, but take
Okay.
it from the land.
Do we need to specify which account it comes from in the
Yeah.
motion?
Well,
Okay,
well, you need to tell accounting where you want to take the money from.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, the
it
board
just,
should know.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
we have 5,000 in education right now?
So, you know,
like
about 4,000,
4,800.
but probably would make more sense to take it out of the land,
Yeah.
getting more in that.
Well, I think it's something that, I think you need to look at this as a group, get a subcommittee to come back to you folks with a plan that you're all happy with, or you can tweak it a little better to what you're looking for.
Mhm.
It's not an approval, it's a process to get to somewhere. Which is nice, I'm seeing right now, because there's people who want to work behind the scenes to come back to give you something.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion that we do hire Jay to do the project, but that we also get a subcommittee working at the same time.
Okay, so you move that okay, Harry seconds. So the motion is that we will approve the expenditure of, we think the price tag was $4,500 to develop a master plan and then to establish a subcommittee to explore a land preservation plan.
Or use, whatever. Yep.
Okay, I
Want
have,
Jay to do that?
yep,
That's part,
that's part of the motion.
That's part of the motion.
So for clarification, that the NRPC will be developing the master plan. Okay. I think that's the friendly amendment there.
We'll give it to them to do.
Okay, so I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any further discussion? Roger?
Isn't that what Andrew does? Doesn't he do GPS mapping and all of that too? Shouldn't he?
GIS, yeah.
Whatever it is.
He can be on the committee to help us.
I mean, if he's willing to help,
Jay does as well. They both do.
They both do it.
Okay,
I mean, the more hands, the better if Andrew's willing.
all right. Well, we can include him in the email this evening. So
Mhm.
any further discussion?
Where do you want to take the money from? Should that be in the motion?
That's up to, that, I think we gotta get it going and then we decide where the money's coming.
Is that something we should have in the motion? I'm
No.
guessing. Is it required?
No, it's not
No,
required.
it's not,
Okay,
it's
then-
not required.
Then I think we have the motion on the
Okay.
table in the second. So, and if there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
All right,
Aye. 1, 2, 3, 7. Those opposed, those abstained, motion passes 7-0-0. All right, number 3. So vacancy, full member. So the selectmen did not take action on our recommendations again. So before we proceed, and no,
See
hold
it
on.
coming.
Before we go any further with this, the selectmen did ask that we bring forward any alternates who are interested in filling the vacancy. So if there are any alternates in the room who are interested in filling this vacancy, please raise your hand. Andrew isn't here.
but he said yes the last time.
I believe so. So yes, so Andrew, I will include Andrew. All right, I will be forwarding those names to the selectmen for consideration at their next meeting. Here, no, all right. If there's nothing else, then we move on to item 4, adoption of weather program. So, I had written up a charter for weather program. I shared that with everybody last week. I've been working with the National Weather Service on this, and I would describe their attitude towards this as quite supportive. I had spoken to 2 officials with the National Weather Service, one of whom I believe at some point may be coming out to Litchfield to assist us and possibly even looking at a facility to place our own weather station, but they give us a wealth of information. But this program will be kind of for the town to start collecting and archiving data related to weather and fluctuations in weather and climate. But does anyone have any questions about this program? Jason?
I like the idea.
Yeah, we have two private residents who have their own weather stations who provide data already online, who have expressed interest in supporting this program. And I think that this would kind of, I mean, we already do the precipitation totals on a monthly basis. I think this would be a great way to supplement what we are already doing and expand our education and information gathering and sharing with the public further. So this evening, I am looking to have this program basically adopted by the commission and have this be something we can work towards. Jason?
So Matt, we've got a bunch of programs going on right now. So we've got the community garden,
Yeah.
we've got the weather program,
Yeah.
we've got the land preservation plan.
Mhm.
You know, maybe we should brand these things a little bit, you know, the committee on weather, the committee on, you know, something like that, just so that they're kind of more formalized. And maybe there's a standing item on the agenda every single month going forward, just to give a 1 or 2 minute update on it.
Yeah.
It would be nice if more than one person were, you know, involved with each one of these. So it's just not you taking and running it. Maybe it's you, Jack over here, or maybe, you know, whoever else is interested. Roger's been involved with this,
Yeah,
so.
it's, anyone can be involved with it. I don't think that there's anything really precluding anybody else. But, Marion?
I noticed that we've been paying attention to whether you listen to it on TV or we listen to Roger or whatever. But there's such a variability with rainfall, snowfall, and the weather in the different areas of town.
Mhm.
I mean, my house is down in a little gully in a hilly area. Roger will say, oh, I got 3 inches of rain the other day. And I'll sit here and go, I'm lucky if I got a few sprinkles because of where different people are situated in the town. I mean, it varies greatly from northern to southern and anywhere in between. So I agree, the more people that have input with this, it's makes it much more valuable.
Mhm.
And in the end, though, what is the purpose of this? And is it going to be kept in perpetuity or just, you know, at the end of the year, just say, this is the amount of precipitation, how hot it was, a drought, that kind of stuff. I mean,
Right.
what's going to be done with this information?
So we'll present it to the public, like if, like you said, if we have droughts, we can kind of focus on that. And we now have the instrumentation and volunteers who can be involved in looking at that. And we can kind of see how the changes that are going on in the climate and in with the weather are impacting the town directly. I mean, it's very closely intertwined with how the environment works. And so I think it would,
So would we have a web page, Matt?
we can create one, yeah. I mean, I've already talked to John Brunel about about either, about possibly getting the town, its own, the Conservation Commission, its own website. It is pricey. We can look at that, as we are kind of expanding out so that we have our own website where we can more easily kind of concentrate all this information. So if sometime down the road we want to decide that we want our own website, we can certainly do that. But he gave me a price tag of about $400 a year to run a website. I don't think that's incredibly unreasonable, but we can certainly look into that, Marion.
Do we have an education? I thought I heard somebody ask before. Do we have an education fund we could take money out of to line up this type program?
Oh, we could. So right now, the good thing about this program is since we already have private citizens willing to volunteer their effort and they already have their own instrumentation, that we don't necessarily have to spend any money on this. Jason had already brought up that we could use beautification funds so that we could purchase a weather station for town hall or one of the facilities so that when the National Weather Service official comes down here, we know what building to put it on, which would be ideal. But we don't have to do that. And so it doesn't really have to cost us any money or much money at all. It'd be a pretty negligible cost.
Yeah, the weather stations were anywhere between like $200 to $500, and it includes all the gadgets with the exception of the camera.
Right.
So Matt, you know, I think moving forward, I think we could rustle some money up without even hitting our own budget
Right.
to put one of those up. I think it would be a nice amenity in town.
I agree. Yeah.
Does it come with a computer program so like somebody can have it on their computer as a database?
it does have they do have Wi-Fi capability, so they do upload, and I actually looked at the two weather stations, or at least one of the weather stations from one of the people who offered, and I saw there are other people in town with weather stations. I haven't talked to them, but their stations are live streaming the data onto
And you
weather.
can click a button and go back and see the history
Right.
over a year, over so on and so forth. So it's got all the graphs and charts,
Yeah.
and it's pretty cheap.
And even if we can't get every resident who has some of these weather instruments actively involved, we can still tap their data from where they're plugging it in online. So,
It'd be wise to do that because in all the years that I've been here, I can tell you we've had more rain at the north end and south end. But when you get into the middle of the town near the golf course, there's a mountain range on to the west, and it splits the storms up, and they'll go east and west.
The force field.
yeah.
Yeah, we know. That's when the pumps come up.
So this evening, I would like to make a motion that we adopt the weather program as an activity for the Litchfield Conservation Commission, and down the road, that could turn into a subcommittee. But for right now, I would like that approval so that I have permission to go forward and actually start gathering volunteers and start putting this together. Okay. Motion in a
Who made the motion?
second.
Okay.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. 7.
Forward, Roger.
Those
that?
opposed,
Looking forward, Roger.
those abstained. All right, motion passes 7-0-0. All right, next up, meeting twice monthly. This could be a interesting discussion. Oh, Marion.
I think meeting twice monthly may not be necessarily appropriate. Like Jason just said, we have different projects going on now. And if we develop subcommittees,
Mhm.
the subcommittees could hold their meetings. Meeting once a month. And we seem to have a good communication going on with emails
Mhm.
that, you know, I don't know that we necessarily really need to meet twice a month.
So the plan, well, I mean, so given the kind of the frequency of stuff we're bringing up in meetings, and our last meeting ran 3 hours, and this meeting we've already went right through 1 hour, and we're like a third of the way through the agenda. I mean, it's not, I mean, if we still stayed with one meeting, that's okay. I just felt that it might be more beneficial for us to meet twice monthly on the first and the third Thursday of the month. You know, we're meeting more frequently, and especially if we do have more programs going on and more, a subcommittee and whatnot, it might be more beneficial because we can't really use email that frequently. You're not, because even if we're all remote, whether it's on camera or by email, if we have a quorum of people talking, that's still a public meeting, and we have to disclose that publicly when we're talking about town
I
business.
just figured that the Board of Selectmen keeps track of how often people miss meetings and
Well,
don't come to meetings. You know, I think with everybody's lifestyle, and we all have different lifestyles and things going on,
mhm.
that they're gonna start saying, you missed this meeting, or you missed that meeting.
I mean, that's
And I
okay.
think that's a disadvantage to some people.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have much of a life at this point, but, you know, some people do.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to say something a little different. It's similar to what you're saying, but a little bit different. Being that we're starting and you're picking up a lot of stuff right now,
Mhm.
the agendas have never looked like this before, you know what I'm saying, with a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think the subcommittee meets during that off time or something, and we bring things in, okay? That'll be the first approach. I don't think we have to meet twice a month now if we use subcommittees to do a lot of the foot racing to bring to the following.
Yeah, but
You know what I'm saying?
but these subcommittees are focused on specific tasks. I'm talking about conservation agendas.
Well,
Overall, they're still,
most of the agendas, the conservation agenda is all gonna be about what these subcommittees are doing to promote it, okay, to get it going.
in part.
That's how I feel about it.
Anybody else? Jack, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, say with exception to the ZBA. Yeah, I'm seeing another.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
We do seem
Jason?
to have a lot going.
I think I could go either way on this. I think over the past few months, there have been a lot of items on the agenda, but if you go back 6 months, there weren't a lot of items on the agenda. Maybe it'll start leveling off here in
True.
a few months. Maybe we take the wait and see approach and see if it continues like this. If it does continue, then consider it, or, call a special meeting on a second Thursday to
Mhm.
take care of the stuff that's, hanging out there. And I do agree with what Marion said about getting together the subcommittees, and then maybe we can do a quick report out during the regular meeting and not spend a lot of time on it,
Okay.
on those.
Plus you could forward it to us and have our, the group already acknowledge what they're doing.
Okay.
Okay.
Diane, did you have something?
Some of the boards, Jack's right, but some of the boards meet twice a month during the summer, and then in the winter, they meet once a month. So there's other options. too.
Right.
You don't have to like be dragging out on a cold December night when we have very little to do, but in the summertime, when a lot of conservation business evaluations of land are being done, then maybe we do. That's just a suggestion.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? I'd still at least like to table this for further discussion. We should probably wait and see what happens as things kind of level off, because I know that there are some things that have been coming up on the agenda that, won't last forever, but some things might, based on what we're consistently doing, and then leaving room for periodic things, but okay. Let's table it. All right, next, Litchfield State Forest parking lot. So the state Division of Forests, Division of Forests and Lands was looking for input from the town regarding their parking lot. I don't know if anybody saw what they were looking at doing, but they're basically going to double the size of the parking lot at the state forest, and they were looking for input from a couple town agencies for input on it. Not too sure if we really have anything. It looks like they're going to be doing a new kiosk.
Where's the parking lot now? I have
It's-
no clue.
It's right at the intersection between Albuquerque and Hillcrest.
Oh, is that area that's blocked?
Yeah,
out
it's that
by-
little. Yeah,
Very
Oh,
small.
it has rocks in front of it or
Yeah,
something?
to keep
Yeah.
them off the trail.
yeah. They're going to be putting a gate in there now too, so
Which
it's
is
still going
nice.
to be blocked off, but it can be accessed by emergency management vehicles. Other than that, in the kiosk, I don't really think there was too much else.
Have they proposed an alternate idea themselves? A
Not that I've
little
seen.
sketch?
Well, they did provide us with the visual of doubling the size of the parking lot. There really wasn't too much else that they
Okay.
included there.
Yeah, October, November. Parking lot.
Yeah, it was.
Some cars out there today.
What they provided to us was like cartoon. I mean, it really didn't show what the
That's what I'm
parking lot
saying.
was gonna look like. It was just a square. I think it would be nice to maybe get a little bit of a better rendering of it
Mhm.
at some point in time, because it really wasn't much, but I like the idea, but that is the center of town now, so I think we just want to make sure it looks cool, it looks nice.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Jason, you have technology. You do a little GIS thing?
Little rendering?
Yes, dear.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
The king of the render.
Cartoon.
I think that can be used to facilitate the whole motion, okay?
Okay, if nobody else has any more input, let's move on. Lawnmower purchase, Jason.
Yep, I'll be brief with this. Just share my screen. Get that. There. And let me minimize this. Okay, over the past few years, and I know Kevin's been in the same boat as I have, I've been taking care of the Morris Falls Conservation Area, as has Rick Charbonneau has mowed the field out back there. And over the past several years, I've also been taking care of the muster field, which Kevin had taken care of previously, and I think Matt McQuestion also had helped out there previously as well. Using our own equipment, beating the heck out of our own equipment. And I think something that we should consider is purchasing a mower. So what you see right there on the screen is what Morris Falls looked like in 2015. It was quite frankly an overgrown mess. If you walked out of the parking lot and you went to the trail, you would be covered in ticks. You'd be getting Lyme disease. It just really hasn't been maintained over the past 5 or so years that much. So that's what it looks like today. You know, it's nice. So we went from having that to that, to that, you know, to that. And this takes time, and it takes our own equipment. And I think if you take a look down the street at the muster field, just 2 years ago, the muster field looked like that, and now it looks like this. For us to keep maintaining it, you know, we need to keep it mowed, we need to keep it trimmed. We were originally thinking that maybe highway could help out, but they never ended up getting another employee, so they're still on 2 employees, so it's hard to count on them. So I went and I got some pricing for mowers. So, and I've got 2 options that we consider. I guess there's a third option. The third option is don't do anything. Option number 1 is I went to the highway department. I asked them what type of mower they have and what they recommended. That's what they currently use right now. A 0-turn ISX Ferris 800. 52-inch deck, you know, pretty good machine, but they're pricey. They're $7,900 for that. That's the exact same mower as the highway department has. The highway department said that they would maintain it for us. I did ask the highway department if we could use their equipment, and they said that's out of the question. So that is one option right there. You know, I mow that with a $2,500 Lowe's Husqvarna tractor, and it's beating the living heck out of it. I mean, my axles are bent after it. There's all types of stuff in those fields that you mow over. So you need to get something that's decent quality. So that's $8,000. Option number 2 is I was talking with Troy Brown, and the highway department actually has, Matt, you may know about this, has a Toro mower. Yep. That's their 3rd mower that currently is not working. And according to Troy, that we might be able to throw some money into that and get it working. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the highway department would let us use it, or maybe even give it to us if we put some funds into that. The other option is to look at something cheaper. I think that you had mentioned at the last meeting, Matt, that you wanted to get a land maintenance plan down. We can't really mow those lawns with the brush mower. It's just not the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
I think that we do need some mowing capability, and I'll just throw that on the table for discussion.
So regarding the muster field, back when I worked on highway, they regularly mowed around the old town hall. Probably ask them to include the muster field in that. I don't think it would put them out too far.
They have been mowing it occasionally,
Okay.
and then I pick it up I would
Other
say
week.
once a month.
Yeah, because they didn't keep up with it. It was harder to mow. When I mowed it, I was there once a week. Okay, it was my getaway.
Yeah.
My John Deere loved me. After the 10th year, it didn't. And I took out that one. But the mustard field, there's more area there. I'll talk to you, Jason, about this later to get it cleaned up. I know where I can get some brush cutters to get in there and clean up some of the stuff that we can deal with in there. I did it the first time by borrowing farm equipment. So I like the idea of option 2, if that lawnmower is feasible to be repaired. That's a good choice.
I was gonna say the town has 3 mowers, you said?
Yeah.
I believe so.
And this is one they're not using
Yeah,
because it's not able to be used. And I
don't-
think it says 2 to 3K in repairs, I would think would be an option for us to look at
Yep.
rather than spending $8,000 on, one of those zero turn things.
Mhm.
Um,
There is,
I have 2 John Deeres at home. Sorry, Diane.
it's okay. Okay.
And we use a John Deere, a heavy duty John Deere, and it works okay. I mean, you've got regular maintenance on these things like blades and oil changes and spark plugs and all this other stuff.
I just upgraded from my John Deere from a 255 to a 512, 500 series. It was a $12,000 expenditure. Okay.
Yeah, that's what
And,
one of
and yeah,
ours
and
costs.
that's what I'm thinking. If this is sitting there, let's see if we can get it going.
Gary.
Is the conservation responsibility? It is?
You bought it.
Hendricks. Years ago.
Okay. But Parker Park isn't.
Recreation handles that.
Okay. That was my only question.
Okay, Diane?
So the $2,000 to $3,000 in repairs, is that parts only? And then their mechanic at the town will do it?
I don't know the answer to that
No, we
question.
don't know. We
right
can
now.
ask that answer.
Because there is another guy in town that's on the WhatsApp page that does appliance, yeah, he does this kind of stuff. He does pretty much a good job.
From what I heard, the problem is like a transmission. It's not like a carburetor that's gunked up. It's like the transmission or the gearbox, something that's
Would have to maybe go
significant.
back to the
Don't know yet.
vendor.
I don't know. Be
I
nice.
think we should explore it.
Roger.
There is another option, that DR mower, the brush head that we bought with that, initially, we used to use to cut all those, little trees and everything down in Moore's Falls, but there is a finished, mower head that can go with that. That mower has seen an awful lot of work, though. I mean, Joan and I, we bought that thing probably 15, 20 years ago.
15, yeah.
Yeah, all of that, and it's seen a lot of work. The problem with throwing money into an old machine, basically still have an old machine. And if you start looking at these type of mowers, like a Tractor Supply, where you can go pick them up for like $3,200, but those are homeowner specials. They'll never stand up to the kind of work that we need to do with it. If you're gonna really set some money aside and buy something, you need to buy what the road people use. That's just my thought.
I'd like to say something, to follow up on Jason's request. You got a good point. Right? What is really wrong with this machine? The whole 9 yards, and that was a commercial based one there. The one that they have done, it was commercial based. I think Jack bought that when he was. Somebody did something with the transmission, or it's a common practice that we can follow up on that. But what Roger is saying, yeah, in the big picture, long distance, the brush hog you guys have here, I've used that, I don't know how many times clearing the town land. Okay, and also around the schoolyard, back at the ball fields too. So guys, I think we're gonna look at our options. I think we should and come back with something.
I'd like to reach out to Kevin at the highway department and see if we can renegotiate them maintaining the Musterfield more and see what options we have towards cleaning up the top of Morse Falls with them. That, I mean, I'd also like to explore the different mower head for the DR as well, that we could put that on the table.
That's a walk behind.
Yeah,
I'll take a check on the option 2. But I do agree, Roger, in that, look, you have $1 million sitting in the bank right now.
Mhm.
You spent good money on that DR mower 15 years ago, and even though it's got time on it, we still use that today. That thing, we got our money's worth out of that thing. This is the same thing. This is almost like an investment. Matt, we can't be maintaining our properties with hand-me-down chainsaws and things like that. They don't work. You can't get them started up. We make an investment in something that works. This thing's gonna last like 20 years for us. And we've got the funds in the bank, it's just something to consider.
I mean, if we're gonna be, even at like 8 grand, for a piece of machinery, I'd kind of like us to see us focus on something that could perhaps do a little bit more than just mowing and perhaps also deal with other
I
necessities on
checked
other
that out,
facilities.
and those start going into the 15 and 20 grand
Right, those
range.
get
So when
more
you get a
expensive.
bucket on it with a mower attachment,
I have a question for Kevin. The $1 million that we supposedly have, can we transfer money out of that to buy a mower?
Yes.
I thought that was strictly reserved for
Land
land
purchase.
It was
purchase.
changed a couple of years.
Pardon?
It was changed a few years back,
Yeah.
the warrant article changes.
At first, when it first came out, it's for land purchase, but they changed it 6 years back,
It
5,
was
6
when
years.
Jason-
So we could transfer money out of it.
Transfer out to do what we need to get.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd also like to follow up with the individual that did the check on the easement on the north side of Moore's Falls there, because he said that there's habitat in there for hognose snakes. And I'd like to see if maybe with regards to mowing, should we be mowing that entire field? Should we mow part of it?
Um,
Which piece are you talking about?
Moore's Falls, up by the power lines towards by 3A, that big grassy open field.
Should be mowing that because you got the power lines there, they're gonna maintain it, no matter if we do it, they're gonna come in and do it.
That, and also you want to keep those Russian olives down too, because
Right.
them things there, they get carried away and
Yep.
they're horrible.
The hognose are gonna, they're in there already, they're in the lowest section.
Okay.
You can see them down there. They don't like to come up to the streets, too dangerous. They'll stay down in the field better.
Okay. Diane?
As far as the other options too, Ryan Lane also works for John Deere, who is Natticook Landscaping, who does the other town maintenance, so he might be someone to approach as well.
Have we looked at
Used or-
maybe the
do a little
golf course?
more research.
Just a little more research, maybe?
Maybe the golf course has some equipment that they're not using that can handle the job?
That might be a little different kind of machine.
I mean, it's a
I don't disagree
possibility.
with that at all.
No, we
Pardon?
can ask.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. So I can reach out to a few other spots and then come back next month and see if, I'm just throwing it out on the table right here, first shot. We don't have to make any decisions now. I'll come back. I'll do what you said, Harry. I'll talk to Ryan Lane, talk to Kevin. We'll go from there.
I gotta send him a message tomorrow anyway, so I'll bring that up with him.
I was gonna say maybe the golf course, looking to replace one of their pieces and might be willing to sell something.
Because it's like, sometimes we get hand-me-downs that don't work, and sometimes we get hand-me-downs that are barely used and brand new. We did get a saw from Highway, that thing runs like a tap. It runs
So
really
that
well.
bitch
Yeah.
deal,
It's the red one. It's the red, it's a Ranger? What was the Ranger? I used it the other day to take down that fallen tree at Morse Falls. The thing ran perfectly. Fired right up first pull.
if we
Jason?
need an,
What?
What was that, chainsaw?
Yeah. Got from Highway.
if we need chainsaws, my son works on them and sells them. He's always got like 15 sitting in his garage and most of them are Skills and name brands. He's got one with like a 25-foot bar.
Alright. Next up, community garden update, Diane.
So this is a happy subject. We were able to, on May 24th, plant 6 blueberry bushes from DeRoche's. And I want to thank Eve Bodron, Tyler Garino Landscaping, Paul and Kathy Lemire, Kim LaRue, and a few other people, Peter Plansky, for showing up to help transport those 6 geese and get them in the ground. We planted them right before the heat wave came. Kathy Lemire and I have been lugging down water because We haven't quite got our irrigation all set. And then last but not least, thank you to Ray DeRocha. He donated them to us and now they are closed forever, is what the sign says, which is a very sad thing, but we will have 6 beautiful blueberry bushes that we can remember that blueberry picking from and that can be picked by our residents. And I gave Ray a thank you note and dropped him off some blueberry muffins to thank him from the Conservation Commission as well.
Appropriate.
Ryan Lane from Natticook Landscaping is going to be using his brush hog on the garden Friday or Saturday. And DLB Paving is looking at it for me to put in a parking area to donate that for us. Lauren Freelove came down. She has pygmy goats, and what we found is that we have quite a bit of poison ivy in there. And she has some goats that she's going to be bringing down as an organic farm, an organic solution to our poison ivy. But I reached out for more goats to Charming Fair Farm because I've heard that they donate time from their goats to come down and do that kind of thing. And he said that it's really not the best way to do it, that we really should be just turning it over. So I'm going to be looking for advice from our farm community on how to deal that. Yeah, the questions and et cetera on that. And Ryan Lane has also volunteered to turn that over for us. And Steve Normanton is working on the irrigation. And it's kind of a happy thing where that is going to be a great thing. I had a lot of people reaching out to me, very excited about it. I haven't been back in touch with the rec. I think Jason has, as far as combining that area further with Parker Park and moving into that Monadnock land. It's not Monadnock anymore, but I can never remember the new trust yet because I haven't dealt with them yet. And opening up the back of the garden down into those trails as well. So it could actually be like a really nice little community area. So Jay, did you have something to add about I know walk
Just
it.
waiting for the trail extension down there. We're just waiting for that land purchase to go through
Okay,
and be official.
so you've walked it again now, so you're kind of sure where the covered bridge is gonna go?
Yep.
And Rec is working with us on that, so it's a combined.
Do you need any brush cutting there along the edge of the field or whatever?
Oh, good Lord, we do. Yeah, it's been decades
I'll
since
talk to
that
you about
land
that.
has been
I'll talk to you about
farmed.
that.
Yeah, so
I
So-
got a machine.
I would appreciate.
I have a machine that does that.
Kevin, the plan was that we brought in front of them was to build 2 bridges across Nessenkeg Brook
Great idea.
so that you can go down Parker Park Trail, cross a bridge, go to the south side. No, where am I? This is flipped sideways. South side, the east side of it, and then connect back up. So it'll almost make a loop trail. So that's what we're trying to do is see if we can get 2 bridges built. And this town, as you know, has $17,000 in the bank since 1999 to build bridges. So the
If
money
I
is there, it can
squint, I
only be
can
used
see
to build
it.
bridges.
If I squint, I can see it, the play area, the picnic tables, the center garden area. I can see it and I can see residents using it.
They weren't against the idea, so that's a good thing.
Well, the other thing of that money's been around, and I've been trying to get it to do something in thought, but we're dealing with the brook. We used to build bridges across there when I was in town in 3 or 4 spots. And they work good for sleds all the time, all summer long, all winter long. We had snowmobiles going from south to north. Roger, you remember, okay?
For the sake of time, I'm sorry, but for the sake of time, I will ask that we kind of keep the discussions to relevant to the topic
sorry
because
about that.
we, no, it's okay, but I just kind of want to make sure we're keeping the meetings concise and I did receive a request from LCTV to keep them quick because they're out of here at 10.
Okay,
So,
I'm done.
all right.
It's moving.
Next up, alternate Luana Vollmer. Hello.
Welcome.
So I received word that you're interested in becoming an alternate on the Conservation Commission. I sent over to you an application that the town, I believe, used to send out to interested alternates. I don't know if they've used them recently. But if you just want to tell us who you are, let us know a little about yourself, what your interests are, what kind of goals you have for the commission. Pertinent information.
I've been a resident of Litchfield since 2000, for 20 years now. I am a broker, owner, realtor, and I'm very familiar with the town itself, the land, the plants, the animals here. I heard that you could use a little help. I figured I could be of assistance, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I have worked with you in the past. You helped me at Birch Street when we were working on trails in there and cleaning it out, so I can attest to your work ethic. Certainly, I've seen that you're involved in the town.
I've also worked on the river access planning and putting in some of the fencing there. I'm familiar with Ferris lawnmowers and chainsaws and willing to help out with actual work as well as planning paperwork.
Okay,
So
perfect. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Vollmer?
Oh, boy.
All right, well, I will entertain a motion to recommend Ms. Vollmer as an alternate on this commission.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Kevin, all right?
I had the pleasure of being, well, the town official. They keep on building those.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, can everyone keep your hands up real quick? 1, 2. Okay. Those opposed, those abstained, motion passes 7-0-0. Next up, letter to stage crossing president. So I have kind of circling back to our discussion with stage crossing regarding the easement. So I have spoken with both Troy Brown and Thomas Donovan, who's the director of charitable trusts at the New Hampshire Attorney General's office. And they both recommended that this commission sends a letter to the president and invites him to come before the commission and to welcome the board of directors that they have there so that we can discuss a land swap. I've sent out the draft letter to all members of this board, and Diane provided input that we should perhaps word the letter a little bit differently to include the letter from the Attorney General's office. I can do that. That can be a condition of approval, but I am seeking approval to send for this letter forward to him.
Oh, we need a motion.
I do.
I'll make a motion to send a letter to Stage Crossing.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second.
Who seconded?
Roger did. Any further discussion? Marion?
Diane sent out a letter the other day that I thought was pretty informative about how when she went to one of their, was it a board meeting you went to?
Originally, where I was asked by the commission to go and look at the area before Unit 4, which
Yeah.
would move and that's why I was there, because they took, no, but they told us that's what they wanted to do. So I went out, I looked at it, it seemed reasonable, and they were talking about the board, and I offered to go talk to their board. And then when I got to their board, that was not what they wanted.
Yeah.
They wanted to sell, to buy the easement. They wanted
And
us to sell
and
it.
that's what I meant to say was Diane was really, she came forward and said that all they did was knock Joan and other members of the board.
They weren't happy with prior, and it didn't seem reasonable to me. They couldn't come up with any kind of prior correspondence that had been done. Although I knew that it had been done, I knew that there were letters, but I didn't go there prepared to defend us because I thought I was going on a mission that they requested. After the meeting where we voted down them buying the easement, I spoke to their chair of that board again, and he was more excited because Kevin had mentioned, and I had also asked why we needed it. We were talking, we kind of generating, and that was what they focused on, not the fact that we voted down the fact. I mean, that is their focus. And then at that point, Matt offered to call him and said he wanted to, and I told this guy that, and I haven't, since then, I haven't spoken to him. He did come back, he's like, I haven't heard from him, and I said, that is who is gonna be getting in touch with you. And so I've just continued that. So that's where I am with that. I started to get up to leave after they completely blew out of the water why I was there. And it deteriorated, you know, I got up to leave more than once.
And it seemed unreasonable the way they
It
were
was,
acting.
it was because they wouldn't go forward. They kept going back to when the land builder had sold this easement or given this easement to us, which that's not anything to do with where we are now. They wouldn't move forward. And I didn't want that to be something that was discussed in our meeting. I thought that was something that Matt and I could go and talk to and address it with the letter we had and then move forward. But if he wants to write the letter, I just say that you do say in that letter that we voted down your offer to buy the easement. We will retain it because we did. So we give them a formal, this is where we were, this is where we are.
Yeah.
I would include that letter from the Attorney General.
Mhm.
And I would say that we would love to have you come and talk about swapping land and only swapping land.
Right, that's.
Going
that's what's
forward
already-
and going forward only because it's going back stuff.
Yeah,
It's not getting anywhere. And I also think that if they don't want to swap that land and they want to just keep going, the part of that letter said from the Attorney General that we were responsible for that easement and we're not posting it and we're not maintaining it.
right. So for the meantime, just while we're kind of discussing the land swap, we're just kind of see where that lands. But yeah, in the letter and in my discussion with him last week or the week before last, he did remind us at some point we're going to have to get out there and we are going to have to
We're
oversee
going to have
that
to post
easement.
it.
But yeah, so at some point we
Yep.
need to figure out where this
Stupid.
ends up and then we have to take action on that
Was it
easement.
2003 that this all started? You know, we can't keep doing this.
So
But
they'll
that's.
To avoid irritating them, we just need to,
Right,
go
and
forward.
I know that there's a lot of hostility going on, so that's why I went to the Attorney General's office.
oh, I
And since-
understand, yeah.
Since ultimately they kind of have a lot of expertise here and making sure we're doing this by the book and we're doing this properly, that's why I'm proceeding with the letter.
I
in the
was
way that
sorry
recommend.
for what happened. I expected it to be, you know, pretty easy
Mhm.
because we were doing exactly what they wanted and there was no reason not to do what they wanted. It all made sense. And then I went to the board meeting and it went downhill rapidly.
Yeah,
When you say land swap, were you just talking about
Yeah,
moving the
They
easement?
were trying to be bullies and I wouldn't.
Moving the easement from one spot to the other?
That's why I was sent there, was just to look at it. It was more a formality, I think, than anything else. It has been walked by every member in here. It was more like they're talking to us again. It's another new head of the board. Actually, it was the board member who reported us to the Attorney General who got the letter, Vinnie Ribaldo.
I think we're kind of going in a circle here. So can I have a motion and I have a second on the floor. So was that a friendly amendment?
That is
to
a friendly
include the
amendment to
okay,
the-
so
to that
include
letter.
The Attorney General's letter. All right. There's no further discussion. I will, all those in favor say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Seven, okay. And those opposed, those abstained, motion passes 7-0-0. All right. Next, digging at historical site signage place. So I think I already discussed during our special meeting, that there was some, that the, one of the building foundations at Morse Falls was disturbed. This is a building that I believe is from the early 19th century. A lot of bricks were exposed and then kind of toppled over. And then after speaking with the president of the Historical Society, he said the best course of action was to document the foundation and then collect and store the bricks based on where they were from. That's what I did. I printed out a laminated sign that's already at the site, notifying people that they cannot disturb that site. It is not consistent with.
There was somebody on Facebook, I'm not even sure what Litchfield, what's up, Litchfield, what's not up,
Yeah.
was somebody complaining about not being able to dig it historical sites in Litchfield, and I explained to them that, the Historical Society wanted to come down and go through certain
It's a
sites.
state law too, that they.
Right, and
Yeah.
never heard anything back, but they were saying, it wasn't nice.
Okay, so I just wanted to let everyone know about that. Next, property inspections, action needed. So, I think kind of, going forward on a land management plan, I think one of the fundamental things we need to do is annually, we need to be walking every single property we hold. Other towns do this, we should be doing this. So tonight I am seeking a motion that we, set a course of action to, walk through every single conservation property in Litchfield, prior to the end of the year, by December 31st, 2021.
Make a motion, we walk through the properties.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Diane seconds. All right, do I have any discussion?
Get the mapping.
Okay. Can do that as well. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those abstain? Motion passes 7-0-0. Next, financial report. Jason had brought up, perhaps having the secretary do a financial report at each of our meetings. Andrew is not here to discuss it. I don't know if you want to brush over that real quick, Jason.
I think it would be good just at each meeting. I've seen agendas from other conservation commissions meetings where they've talked about their finances at every meeting, spend a minute on it, how much they have in the bank, how much is left, things like that. I think that would be helpful
Yeah,
from
I
Andrew,
agree.
just to take a minute every meeting.
Make sure everyone's getting the information, everyone's up to date on stuff. Make sure we're keeping the public apprised as well.
Balance
think
on
that's a good idea.
accounts, amount spent.
If anybody, I think it's pretty interesting watching other conservation commissions and seeing how they do business. So, or even attending their meetings, they have some. So if anyone wants to watch another meeting, another commission, and has any recommendations, feel free to bring those forward. Next, access from bike path to Moores Falls, also known as Concept P.
I know we're running out of time here. Concept P, I just wanted to bring this up, put it on the table. We don't need to make any decisions now, but I had an epiphany last week, and I guess Kate Stevens from the planning board had the same epiphany. So we have, if you look up at the screen, we have several proposed developments going on in the north end of town. We have the horse farm, which is potentially going to be condos. We have number 2, Thoreau property, which is potentially going to be a gas station. And number 3, we just heard that there might be a warehouse going in next to St. Francis. So we have 3 significant properties in the north end of town, and you have the Albuquerque bike path that is kind of on the southern end there. So I think that because these are potentially going in, I think we need to think about how we can leverage these developments and the developers to connect neighborhoods and the amenities that are going on up there. So I kind of came up with the concept P, which stands for pedestrian path. So what I'm thinking of is with those lots up there, we could consider working with the developers to implement a multi-use path that connects everything. And it might look something like this. So if you take a look, you've got the horse farm up here. Maybe we can work with the developer there to help build a path. Now, I'm not talking paved, I'm talking about NITPAC or something like that, that goes through Moores Falls. Maybe talk with Mr. Thoreau about continuing that path. Yes, and I know it'll go across pavement that goes through the gas station property. Talk to St. Francis about continuing that path onto a little sliver of their land, and then talk to, if the development starts going through with the warehouse, talk to them as well, and bada bing, bada boom, we can connect to the bike path. And I think it would be a low cost. I think it would be something that we can talk to the developers about. I don't think it would put any hardship on them. I think it would improve safety because kids on their bikes could be going to the end of the bike path and want to get to the gas station to get a slushie. They could actually go on a path and get up there without going on 3A. And then the same thing is that you're also connecting that north end of town and potentially the condos at the horse farm with the bike path, which would help solve, help with pedestrian and bike travel between those points. Nothing needs to be said right now. I'm just throwing it out there on the table that when these developments start moving forward, maybe we should think about something like that. Optionally, and I think the planning board might be looking at this, you can ask these developers to pool in and put a sidewalk down 3A.
Anybody have any questions?
Just to throw in something to Jason, the car track is an open right of way, presently owned by, and that gets you into the woods and away from everybody real quickly. Get you down to Morse Fall, and you also get to where the horse farm is, the lower level, as being open space as well.
You could.
You need a bridge to cover.
It's beautiful, Jay, a thing of beauty.
Roger?
Mr. Chairman, for health reasons, I have to leave the meeting. This is a rainfall report for the end of the meeting.
Fantastic. I will read that.
All right.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, Roger. Okay. Next up, we have, I believe there are papers going around the room and a lot of brochures. Harry has an update for us on hiking in general outdoors information.
Take one,
application.
pass it on.
Yeah. What I did is put together thoughts on local, what I call local hiking and walking, okay? And strictly involved with local walking and hiking. I mean, I could have gone into much more detail, thank you, Don. Much more detail as far as, I want to keep the northern part of because that's a whole different area. I mean, I put things down like important stuff, bug spray, making sure you have your dog leash with you, making sure you know what poison ivy is,
Kevin,
okay?
this is what he has to handle.
All this sort of stuff. I'm just gonna pass them here. You can pass these out. Pass those.
Pencils there? Nice. Oh, you get
So
pencils?
I put
Free
that
stuff.
together,
Cool.
and then I went up to Fish and Game, talked to them, and I said, well, do you have anything? And that, always gotta watch out what you say. It's gonna hopefully, afterwards, you guys can, I have these brochures, and they gave me a load of stuff. Hike safe, wild, and all sorts of stuff. So I've got some stuff pulled out here.
SAT test?
The other thing.
They're getting pencils for some reason.
Well, we all paid, bottom line, is we all paid for it.
It's a
anyway.
gift. All right, never mind.
My
So,
licensing.
Fish and Game, I talked to them basically about hiking and that type of area, and they've got tons of information. The other thing too is that I've taught classes on reading topo maps, compass work, and survival, okay? And the survival is basically a basic type survival course, go hiking into the mountains or someplace strange. I can teach that if anybody's, people are interested, okay? That's, I can do that with no problem. One of the things I did put on the list that Diane mentioned is because we've had a lot of new people in town, particularly October, November. Jason and Matt and I and probably Diane have all been aware, you're out there and you know it's hunting season and people are walking through with brown coats or they're walking with their golden retrievers and all that sort of stuff. Now, for a
Courtney had
while
good
before
hair.
the pandemic, I was over in Moores Falls and I handed out an orange ribbon that I tied around people's arms. It asked me what it was, and you'd be surprised at the reaction. They all took it favorably. I worded it for the safety of the individual, not so much from the point of the hunter. Now, whatever your thoughts on our hunting, that's your thoughts. But now in southern New Hampshire are going to see far more people than you are going to see wildlife. That's a given, okay? So if anybody has any other recommendations to that list they came up with, Matt, I don't know if we can put this on social media,
Yes,
okay?
yeah, for sure.
If
Good choice.
anybody, if you contact people and they're interested in brief course, the compass is a non-technical, electronic device. However, it has saved many, many, many lives. Okay. People kind of sneer at it, and that's the wrong thing to do. So if you got any questions, and I'm sorry if not anybody has brochures to hear. Yeah, Matt.
I just think this is spectacular. This is a great deal of work you put into this. I'm really enthusiastic about this. I think this is a great way to get involved into educating the public, reaching out to the public. This is great work.
Okay. The other thing I started doing, by the way, oh, I'm sorry, Jason, you had a question?
It was actually Marion was first, but.
I was gonna say, I saw somewhere in the news or whatever, remember Matthew was talking about going down by the river and finding fishing line and all kinds of trash in that. Maybe want to think about making up a sign that says something about carry in, carry out.
Well, it is in there.
Okay.
I've got it listed as
Number
carrying in,
6.
carrying out trash.
Number
Yep,
6.
I think that's also
on his
included
list.
on signage that we have.
Oh,
at
yes,
the
you know, we put it on signage, we've got doggy bags, and when I had the time before the thing, I'd go down there and I'd pick up the doggy bags that people left all over the place, and it just, trying to educate the public as best we can, okay? So the other thing I've started working on is I started looking up local areas that people could go hiking. I looked at Salem very quickly, Merrimack, and what I'm going to try to do is get into those towns and see if they actually have some sort of documentation. Okay? You know, we have Moore's Falls. Don't really have any kind of maps or anything like that. So I'm going to try and put that together. That's a little bit longer project than takes a little bit.
Andrew's currently working on mapping all of the trails in
Oh,
town and
good.
providing property specific.
So if anybody's got any suggestions on what I put together, feel free to either email me or call me. If anybody's interested in putting a small class together with 5 or 6 people or kids or whatever, just let me know.
Okay. Jason.
Matt, briefly, I think one thing that we could consider is maybe not this year or maybe the tail end of this year or into next year is maybe we can do 2 or 3 public classes a year as part of the Conservation Commission. And maybe merge it with the library or something like that, where Harry could protect, one of them could be a, wilderness survival training class or something like that. I would love to see somebody do wildlife photography. We have a lot of people out that go down to Morris Falls taking pictures. And maybe a goal for like 2022 is just come up with or later this year, maybe come up with 2 or 3 of these things and see if we can make it happen.
Okay.
Maybe put it on LCTV,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
get
I
it
had
covered
also
on that.
thought that when Matt had given the tours at Parker Place and also Morris Falls, that maybe we could have done something, COVID kind of messed things up.
Yeah.
But something that we could have done over there too. But like I said, Diane brought up a good point with people in town of go walking off, and I'm allergic to poison ivy, so I learned.
My father, you had something in common.
Pardon?
My father is the same way. When he was like, he could just walk in the field, he came back red.
Diane, what did you have something?
No, I was
So-
just sitting here like this.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you had your hand up.
So
No,
those who
no,
didn't get brochures, they're over here, and please take them. Please.
So, last item on the agenda here under new business is duck box placement. So I discussed it last time. And I also sent out everything I got from Deering Conservation Commission. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look through it, but they've been doing this for decades. They had some really good information. So one of the things I'd like to do is we're kind of late in the season right now. But at least get set up with a duck box at the Bixby Meadow to replace one that I found out there that was in like basically disintegrated. It's a fantastic location for it, and we have the tools to do it. And if nobody has any objections, I'd like to put one out there. Diane?
I just have a really quick question about ducks.
Yes.
So I've lived here a really long time now.
Mhm.
And the other day I was leaving my house, and you've been to my garden when I had the turtles in there, so you're kind of familiar with it. And there was a saucy little duck mom and 7 or 8 ducklings walking down my garden. And I was kind of surprised to see them there because I don't have I have wetlands, but I don't have like a brook or anything like that. So is that like normal?
The
I
answer
don't know.
is yes. Apparently, they must have found an area in the wetlands to nest. It
Okay.
doesn't necessarily have to be a lake or,
So
or a
there's
stream.
really a wood duck.
Yeah, because I have I have 2 ducks that come in the backyard. Now, I'm on the river, but they come flying into the backyard.
Yeah, this was totally new for me. I'm pretty far from the river. It was very cool though. Totally cool. So much better than turkeys. Wow.
I never get turkeys.
I don't like
I don't think
turkeys.
they're.
They're mean.
Already at 7.
They're mean.
It tastes good.
I like them with cranberry sauce, but a lot of prawns on that.
Okay. I like to add something, the bat box. Anybody know where that went?
No idea.
Okay, we'll look for it. I
Okay.
think it's in the old
Yeah.
highway department up above.
Do I need a motion to install that duck box? No. Okay.
No.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to make things as formal and explicit as
You
possible.
are installing it in the same location as there.
I want to see pictures and stuff. I want to.
Okay.
I like, yeah.
I'll
I
take
think it's
pictures
cool.
and.
Apparently you can install one near my house because I have a duck
Yeah, I mean,
and babies.
if there are private locations where we could install duck boxes, we can look at that as well. Old business, let's skip over ArcGIS mapping and trail signage because Andrew's not here. Water withdrawal ordinance, I don't know if anything else has occurred there.
Nothing has occurred there, except that I was surprised to hear that Tim's Turf does use water out of Colby Brook, somebody had mentioned, and so we should think about water withdrawal and maybe, if you want to do it or not.
It's his land, no?
Water's not his land.
Okay, but they've been
Water.
drafting out of there for years.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we need to think about.
The other thing is, I was the one that let Joan know that,
I know what you're talking about.
but also people from seeding companies and landscape companies
Mhm.
will take water out of there,
I've seen that happen once or twice.
Happens at Pinecrest, Hillcrest, and.
Yep. That's the other one.
Let's perhaps revisit that with,
Revisit it.
with the selectmen. Musterfield upkeep, so Jason and I, we quickly, Jason brought his ride-on mower and trimmed the grass up at the Musterfield, and I took the brush hog, which is now at the old fire station, and I did a few sweeps kind of along the brush there to neaten that up. I think that's really all that needs to be said for that. It was pretty straightforward.
Would you object if I brought a bigger brush hog in here to get a little, the way we used to mow it before?
So.
Got a 7-footer I can borrow.
Let's review that because I also know that the Historical Society wanted us to be considerate around the building foundations there.
Yes, and
So
that's
just
where
yeah.
I'm going, it won't be there.
Okay, but yeah, we'll revisit that next time it needs maintenance.
Okay.
So just before we go any further, since Roger left, we're now down a person. So I am going to appoint Jack as an alternate to make sure we're up to 7. It's not typical that people leave mid-meeting, but second time it's happened, I want to make sure we have 7 people. So the next rainfall report. So here, from Roger, 10 inches of rain,
Wow.
Wow.
For the whole year?
You understand.
for the month of, May
Month of May,
2021.
10 inches of rain?
10 inches of rain.
Good,
Wow.
good.
Were we in, still in
Exactly.
moderate drought now? I know we were in moderate drought last month.
They decreased it to abnormally dry, I want to say.
Okay,
Don't quote me on that,
Quite
but I
dry.
feel like that might be
Thank
where it is.
that makes
Um,
sense.
So our next meeting is July 1st, 7 PM, right back here. I added public input again in case like at the end of the meeting, anybody from the public has anything to say.
I just had something a little bit.
Yeah, sure, go.
So. So woodwork. More small trails, like the display cases, so. I believe, Matt, you said there's one display things in the,
You're talking about the,
yeah, there's like,
The lock informational sign, posts.
I didn't know if there was like a trail that's supposed to go.
So yeah, we're,
We told you.
we'll looking into that still, making
and I
sure.
have the verbiage to get laminated, and then I can give you that.
Matt, on the same thing, I'm down there a lot when I'm mowing. I probably would say that more than 50% of the people there walk up to that kiosk looking for a map. I mean, the ones that are there that are brand new.
Mhm.
So maybe we can get Andrew to develop a map of Moore's Falls.
Yeah.
I could
know.
probably,
We did have
Cut me
maps
off,
there, we
Jason.
have some.
I've been talking about that for the last.
It's a work in process. He's
Londonderry
still
has
working on it.
beautiful
We
ones.
have,
Not that I wouldn't rather. live
maps
in
from
Winchester.
Morse Gold, I can pull them out.
if you could do that, I can get it printed out on Tyvek. So it'll be waterproof and then we can put it behind the glass.
All right. So we should have, Andrew, since Andrew's not here, we can't really, review the minutes from April or either May meeting. So I think we're gonna have to table that until July. So that brings us to non-public.
One last thing.
Yes.
We forgot to tell you, you need to go meet with the selectmen. Should you do that on Monday? Let's go
We're not meeting Monday, it'll be the following
Following
week.
Monday.
the following Wednesday.
Call the office. Troy's not in tomorrow. He's got a hay fever. Come on Monday.
Well, the other question I had is when are we supposed to go back to the Board of Selectmen?
At their next regular meeting, which I believe is June 14th.
It's got, not next Monday.
Right, Monday
We're
after.
skipping a week, okay?
So
Yeah.
June 14th.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so do I have a motion to go into non-public per RSA 91-8:3, section D?
I make a motion
I'll
to do
second.
just that. Got it.
Gary,
All of
any
us.
discussion?
Good.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying
You
aye.
have to do a
Aye.
round.
Sorry, hold on, we have to do roll call, I'm sorry.
Oh.
So I will start and then we'll go counterclockwise. I am an aye.
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 I,
Aye.
And I think I said aye, so that motion passes 7-0-0. All right, have a good night.
Not yet.